The Baroque city of Salzburg, one of the favourite romantic cities of Europe. But it's more than Baroque, and over the centuries it wasn't always romantic. Of course, today its favourite son is Mozart. But although it was his birthplace, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart shunned his hometown as being too provincial for his enormous talent. And yet several biographers who acknowledge that the city didn't recognise the great musical talent it had within its grasp, they can detect through Mozart's rather coarse language and his provincial humour the Salzburg of the 18th century. So perhaps the city does have the right now to be proud of producing such a musical genius. But Salzburg is also a reflection of its name. It's not only a city, it's also a province in Austria, and an area rich in the history of human civilizations. The earliest traces of man here date from the New Stone Age, with continuity through the Bronze and Iron Ages to around 1000 BC, when the Illyrians settled in the area. 500 years later, the Celts came and made the area part of the Celtic kingdom of Noricum, centred at present-day Carinthia. Salts, one of the Celt words for salt, was the source of the area's main source of wealth for both the early tribes and for the later prince-archbishops who ruled here until the early 19th century. Another Celtic word for salt is hull, which is applied to the city of Hallstatt, where the graves of Iron Age salt miners have been discovered, and in 1734 where a perfectly preserved Celt was found buried in the salt. The city of Salzburg straddles the two flat areas between towering mountains on both sides of the Salzach River. The Romans arrived here in 15 BC, establishing palaces, temples, and of course a forum on the site of today's Residenzplatz. By the final years of the Roman occupation in the 5th century AD, there was a Christian church established. A legend says that a holy man, Maximus, was reportedly martyred by the invading barbarians who swept across from Bavaria and found Maximus with some 400 followers in the catacombs cut into the escarpment of the Monksberg. What we do know for certain is that by the end of the 7th century, Rupert, the Bishop of Worms, was granted permission by the Bavarian Duke to take over this district, including its valuable salt mines. Today, Rupert is the patron saint of Salzburg. He established the monastery of St. Peter, close to the catacombs in which he is believed to have had his own prayer cell. He also installed his niece Erentrudes as abbess of the convent called Nonnberg, which was featured in the 1960s movie The Sound of Music, in the glamorized account of the Von Trapp family singers. Rupert's mission was to restore Christianity to the area. For his efforts, he was eventually driven out of the city because of widespread dislike for his many reforms. However, he was later recognized for his work and now has a memorial to him situated in St. Peter's Church, and his relics were transferred to Salzburg's cathedral in the year 774. Erentrudes is buried in the crypt at Nonnberg, the oldest surviving religious community for women in the Latin world. From 1587 came the three Renaissance princes, starting with Wolf Dietrich, who'd been educated in Renaissance Rome. He became ruler at the age of 28 and is best known for his building program and for his scandalous lifetime relationship with Salome Alt, the daughter of a wealthy merchant. Salome lived in a building adjoining the Franciscan church. Her quarters were connected to Wolf Dietrich's chambers through a door hidden by a wardrobe. She bore him 15 children. The Archbishop built for her a palace across the river which was named Altnau, where she was able to remove herself from public scrutiny. It's said she had a good influence on Dietrich, who moderated his harsh view towards Protestants. However, his great love for Salome is matched by his great love for rebuilding. In 1603, he employed an Italian town planner to start reshaping Salzburg. Dietrich is even suspected of starting the fire that destroyed the lovely Romanesque cathedral, where he wanted to start work on his new Renaissance dome. Next to it, he cleared away 55 homes and moved a cemetery to create the Residenzplatz. But his big mistake was to quarrel with the Elector of Bavaria over mining rights. Bavarian troops caught up with him as he tried to flee from Salzburg, and he spent the last 5 years of his life until 1617 imprisoned in Salzburg. He's buried in a grand mausoleum in the graveyard of St. Sebastian's on the right bank of the river. But for all their sins, and there were many, the mixed variety of men who ruled for more than 1,000 years as wealthy tyrants and benefactors have left behind this amazingly beautiful city that so many thousands of visitors keep returning to admire.